Welcome to Emotional Intelligence Simplified. This is a weekly podcast focused on demystifying and discussing what emotional intelligence is. Demystifying what emotional intelligence is has become the main agenda for Profiles International as they continue in their quest to molding cultures. This podcast seeks to explore the everyday story through the lens of emotional intelligence. We discuss the key elements of emotional intelligence that allows people to connect with others, collaborate effectively, and make more effective decisions, whether at the workplace or in our personal lives. Join us as we explore with our guests the elements of emotional intelligence and other key areas such as well-being, creating safety in your area of influence, growing each day in resilience, and so much more. I am Angela Mwabili, an emotional intelligence practitioner and coach, and also a professional mediator and broadcaster. Today we have with us Nancy Mwabili, who is an EI practitioner and an ICF Associate Certified Coach. She is a published author and has been in HR leadership for over 13 years, mostly in the healthcare sector. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Angela.
How are you?
I'm good.
Karibu sana to Emotional Intelligence Simplified.
Thank you very much.
So tell us a little, who is Nancy?
Wow, Nancy is a wife. She's a mother. She's also an author.
Oh, wow. Hey, what's the name of this book?
This book is called Hope Unbowed. It's a very personal story.
Okay.
But I guess that is who we are. We are 100% human.
That's what we are. And
Yes.
where can we get this book now that I know there's an author in the house?
Wow, you can get in touch with me.
So yeah, we'll make sure we let you know how to get in touch with Nancy. Now, today we're here to talk about the healthcare industry, and that's a very important or valuable industry in our lives. So, let's start with what are some of the challenges that are being experienced in the healthcare industry?
Well, I've been in the healthcare space for quite a while now, just over 9 years.
Yes.
And some of the issues that we see within the industry, there is definitely the issue of long working hours. Mm-hmm. There are heavy workloads.
When
It's
you
a very
say
stressful environment.
Heavy workloads, what does that mean? For us, heavy means unakabeba gunia 15 sacks. What do you mean by the heavy workload?
This is in terms of patient numbers.
Oh, seeing a lot of people.
Seeing a number of patients.
Okay.
And most of the time, as we know from the statistics out there, when we are talking about supply and demand of...
We don't have enough
We don't have enough healthcare workers, whether it is nurses, in the entire spectrum of healthcare, definitely. People end up having quite a bit to do and having some very heavy workloads, as I'm saying, in terms of patient numbers.
Okay, yeah. When you put it that way, now we understand it's true. Whether you are going for an X-ray or a scan, there are always long queues. Whether you're seeing the doctor, whoever it is you're seeing, it's true. We don't have enough healthcare. What is the right word for them?
Healthcare workers?
Healthcare workers to cater for our needs. Okay, so that's one.
Caregivers.
Caregivers, yes. So long working hours, heavy workload.
So definitely then what that results in is a risk of burnout.
Oh, yeah, yes.
And maybe that is why I don't know how many times you go to see a doctor. I pray that you don't go too often, but sometimes you may go at the end of the day. And then you're wondering, why is that nurse talking to me the way they're doing?
Why does she look like she's cutting the wires on her head?
Can you imagine after 12
Now I get it.
shift?
Yeah, okay, that's why they snap. Yeah. Maybe you checked in at 8 o'clock and now it's 6 o'clock and you've seen enough people.
In between that time, you've had to nurse so many patients. Then, of course, you're also a human being. Maybe you left a sick patient at home, maybe a sick child.
By the way, that's something we never really think about when we are sick. We don't think about what is this person's story. I'm so involved in myself. I never remember, we may not remember always to see them as human beings with their own challenges.
And Mwabili, sometimes some of the mistakes we make,
Yes.
we say when someone is coming to work, mambo yake, aache kwa gate.
Shida za nyumba tuache kwa gate, utazichukua ukirudi.
But that is not the true scenario. We are 100% human.
That's true.
If I left a sick child at home,
You're uneasy
if I'm a
the whole
nurse,
day.
I'm uneasy the whole day. I'm making a phone call every other time. Hey, dawa
Kwaje,
umempatia?
fever, amekunywa, amekula,
Amekunywa?
maji,
Mambo iko vipi? So we carry our emotions and everything to work.
That is so true.
So we are trying to take care of others, but we also have our own burdens. We also have our own, our own issues to sort, so to say.
I'd never really looked at it. It's true. We never really, when you're sick, you really don't care about anybody else.
You don't care. You just care about getting well.
Yeah.
And of course, it's expected if you come to see a doctor or a nurse.
I want to see a smile.
You want to see a smile? Of course, as a professional, I shouldn't also give you my baggage.
Yes.
Because it is none of your business.
Yeah.
So I have to figure out how to manage the baggage.
Wow.
Peradventure, I'm having that baggage.
Wow.
Which
so
is usually
burnout
there.
is real.
So burnout is real. Burnout is real. Yeah.
Okay.
Then, of course, apart from that, a hospital is where sick people are coming. So day in, day out, it's a matter of life and death. Yeah. It's emotionally exhausting.
Yeah.
Because
yes, it is.
When a patient comes to you,
you want them to walk out.
You want them to walk out.
Alive.
Yes, and fine and restored to good health.
It doesn't always happen.
So that's another issue. It doesn't happen all the time, unfortunately.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's the reality of life, but I hadn't thought about that too. It can be draining.
It can be very draining because that person is a sister, is a brother, it's a mother. And sometimes the people we even see, we can almost mirror ourselves in that situation.
Wow.
Like there's a time I was in a situation, I was working for this hospital. And there was this doctor that was supposed to be doing a certain surgery.
Yes.
On a young girl.
Okay.
The young girl was a survivor of GBV.
Oh, no.
So you can imagine the kind of repairs that are being done.
Oh, dear.
Then the obstetrician goes, and lo and behold, this is a girl who is about the age of their daughter.
Oh,
so how does the doctor deal with that kind of situation?
Oh, wow.
They have to be able to manage themselves.
And when you look at this child, you're saying this could be my Wendy.
It could be a Wendy. It is your Njeri.
Guy.
But you have somehow
this
to
child
manage
needs
yourself
care. I have to be there for them.
And take the best care of them and make sure that
they don't see your worry or your concern.
Yes. Or your tear.
That's hard. I hadn't thought of that.
It's a tough one.
Yes, it is. Wow.
Then on the other hand, we are talking about challenges in the healthcare industry. Healthcare is one of these unique industries where you have, everybody has been to school.
Yes.
They are professionals.
Yes.
So you're having to work within a multidisciplinary team. Sometimes there are issues. There's a pecking order everywhere. So even in healthcare,
there's a pecking order.
Without naming any names or singling out a specific profession, there are some areas where we have bigger egos than others. Yet you are all concerned about this one patient.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, maybe let me walk into this. So what we're trying to say is, like, for example, there's an accident. So a patient comes in. So this patient maybe needs to go to theater and needs different kinds of doctors. Maybe they have broken bones, so you need a daktari wa mifupa. You need a daktari wa kichwa. You need the one to put the person to sleep, the anesthetist. Those words. So that's what you mean. And they're doctors and they're nurses and this. That's what when you say multisectoral.
Yes.
Everybody has a role somewhere.
Everybody has a part. You have a theater tech.
Yes.
We are different doctors, different specialists.
Yes, because I hear they're theater nurses, they're pediatric nurses. So there are different levels of people needed. And sometimes you all have to work in the same space.
Not sometimes you all have to. Most of the time you have to, because it takes more than a doctor or more than a nurse to take care of a patient.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now we go even further. Yes, even the caregivers, the guys who clean the hospital and these. Yeah, okay, yeah. And we have egos to manage.
Have you heard stories of a patient says everything is fine, daktari ni mzuri, but ward haioshwi?
Yeah.
Or my beddings are not changed.
Or these guys don't come when I ring the bell.
They don't come. They don't respond on time. Or I want to go to the washroom.
There's no one to help me. So yeah, it literally takes a village to heal a patient.
It does.
Wow.
So there are complexities there in terms of then how do we manage these relationships with us viewing ourselves all as caregivers, regardless of the small role or whatever someone is putting in, whether you're mopping, whether you are the one bringing the food. If the food came and it was cold,
yeah,
I mean,
it is a problem.
it is an issue for the patient.
Yeah.
Definitely it is.
Yes. So everybody has an important role to play. Now we have to learn to respect each other and help each other work together.
Definitely you have to.
Wow. Okay.
And then, of course, the other challenge as we proceed in that discussion, there's also a relationship between the patient and the caregiver.
Okay.
Yes.
So that can be a challenge as well.
It can be, because sometimes there you are, you're a caregiver, you're trying to give patient information. Some of us as patients sometimes definitely we are so difficult.
Yeah, we can be a pain.
It can be a pain.
Yes. I don't need this. I don't like that. I don't want.
Yes, and the caregiver
And the doctor
should
has
not,
said no.
and they shouldn't lose it. As a doctor, they have to keep their composure, or the nurse,
Wow.
or the pharmacist, or whoever it is. Some of us go to the hospital, and one of the things that we say when we, for example, you have to give a sample,
Yes.
and you're sent to the lab, I usually give a disclaimer, and I tell them, yeah, I'm a coward.
Same here. I tell them, I can't be looking.
Na sitaki kusikia uchungu.
Thank you, Nancy. I am not the only one. Even me, I don't want to feel pain. I don't like needles.
No.
I don't.
And then I even go ahead and I tell you, by the way, no, meniambia ni hold this fist. The fist is full. Of course, I'm saying it on a light note. But if the person misunderstands me, you can imagine.
They think you want to box them.
I want to box them.
Okay, I hadn't thought. Yeah, so even the patient has a role.
Yeah, definitely they have.
Wow, so those are quite heavy challenges. So now, how can, because we are EI practitioners, how can emotional intelligence help address some of these challenges you shared with us?
You know, maybe you're talking about AI and someone is wondering, what do these people mean?
Yeah, emotional intelligence is what we're
Emotional
talking
intelligence. And maybe just even as I answer that question,
yes.
I would want to mention what my understanding in a simplified way.
Okay,
emotional
tell me, when
intelligence
you
is.
hear, and you as an emotional intelligence practitioner, what does emotional intelligence mean to you?
It means being able to understand, being able to perceive, first your own emotions,
Yes.
manage them,
Uh-huh.
and also understand and manage the emotions of others. Because I read somewhere
Yes.
that every day for a human being, there are
Right.
about 15,000 emotions.
Yes, just running through you.
Just running through, 50% of them are negative.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that? Because you're a human being. As this healthcare provider, we said you've gone to work, there was something happening at home, there's an issue, a patient comes, a patient is difficult, or there's this doctor who you think the ego is being too big. How do you manage them? How do you cope with all that? How do you manage all those challenges within the healthcare industry?
Yes.
And for me, practically part of what we can do, for me, empathy is a very big one as far as healthcare is concerned.
By the way, yes, empathy in healthcare, because, you have to be able to walk in somebody's shoes.
Yes, you have to be able to feel them,
Yes.
understand, walk in their shoes, know where it pinches, and therefore respond appropriately
Yes,
without even judging them.
absolutely.
Yeah, so for me, healthcare is key.
So empathy is very important in healthcare.
It is.
That is, yeah. And that's a good way of introducing one of the very important elements of emotional intelligence.
Yeah, because when I think about empathy, for instance, when I come to a doctor, I am already anxious.
Yes, I'm in pain, I'm confused, I'm worried.
And apart from the pain and the confusion and the worry, I have gone to Dr. Google.
Oh, yeah, hey, please. We have checked for ourselves.
And Dr. Google has told me, by the way, for this kind of symptoms you're having, X, Y, Z could be what is happening. And so I appear to a doctor. They ask me what the symptoms are. I tell them the symptoms.
I even tell them what I have diagnosed.
What I've done. Yes, sometimes we do that. And I start asking questions.
Yeah, because I want to know.
I want to know. But to know if you're there, you're the caregiver, you are not walking in my shoes, you start
think
wondering.
Mwehaki has
"Sasa
become a
huyu
kimbelembele.
Nancy, she wants to tell me how to treat her. And sometimes that is how we judge. A few weeks ago, was it about a month ago?
Okay.
I was at home. I said I'm a mother. I had a child. And the fevers were running crazy.
Yes.
Talk about 39 points.
Way.
And definitely when we have some young ones, there are some things we know what to do.
You have learned by experience the hard way. Yes.
You have some calpo, you have just something somewhere. So you administer your brufen, you do your paracetamol.
You do the bath.
You do the bath. So by the time you go to the hospital, fever was 39.4. So by the time you go to the hospital,
it's 36.
Maybe it has gone down a bit. Maybe it's 37 point. And at that time, I had a friend in the house who is a medical doctor. And she saw what was happening at home. And she's even the one who's kind of, give this half an hour.
She's the one prescribing,
She's
literally.
prescribing.
Yeah.
And you know what her confession was? By the time we go to the hospital, we had managed the fever.
Yes.
Because we did back to back. We pumped the child. Brufen, paracetamol. Because we needed to manage that situation. So by the time we go to the hospital, the temperature is about 37.5, which is normal. And she says if she had not been with me in the house, and she's reviewing this child in the hospital,
she would have thought you were panicking for nothing.
She would have thought I'm panicking for nothing. In fact, she would even possibly have gone to the WhatsApp group with her friends.
And she had, look who's coming.
And she had, this mother, what is she thinking? This is what I encountered. This is what she's saying. This is how she's presenting herself. But you know, when you are empathetic, you want to understand more. You want to put yourself in that patient's shoes and know what exactly is going on. Why are they behaving the way they're behaving? And to be able to manage this patient better. And you know what? When you are empathetic and you show interest in the patient, do you know that it becomes much easier?
Absolutely.
For you to trust that doctor or that caregiver.
Because they listened to you.
They listened to you. And sometimes I've ever found myself in a situation. I went to hospital once and the doctor said 1, 2, 3. I mean, whatever they were saying. And then there's something else they said that triggered. And I said, by the way, I'm also having this symptom. And the doctor is kind of, why hadn't you told me? And this symptom, if I'll be able to say everything when it is an atmosphere of trust.
Yes, you feel you're safe. You can share everything.
You're safe. And one of the best trust builders is empathy. You're not judging me. You are understanding me.
And you're listening to me.
You are listening to me. I trust you at that moment. I'll say everything that I need to say. It will become much easier for you as a caregiver to diagnose. And therefore, then most likely, the treatment will be
most effective. Yes.
Most effective.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't trust you. As a patient, can you imagine I'm a patient and then I go to the pharmacy as a pharmacist, you give me some drugs the doctor has prescribed. But I'm not sure, I don't trust you. Chances are, I might even discontinue taking that medicine.
True.
So what happens in terms of effectiveness of that treatment?
It goes to waste.
Yeah, so empathy is very key.
Empathy is very key. Wow,
Empathy
you have
is key.
really shown how important it is. So what other elements do we also need to look at as we look at that?
When you're thinking empathy?
No, when I'm thinking how to solve some of these challenges, like I'm thinking self-awareness.
Self-awareness, it's where I know I'm able to understand my own emotion. Let's go back to the same example that we spoke about that doctor.
Yes.
Who has to
handle this child who's had GBV.
Has to handle this child.
Yes.
I will be aware that this is a difficult one. And being able to manage that emotion starts with me recognizing that it is there in the first place. Because if I don't recognize that it is there in the first place, I might find myself breaking down in front of a patient. Or
yeah, you could.
Or something else. Or not even about the doctor. I mean, when you're thinking healthcare, we said it's an entire spectrum of caregivers. What example do I want to give? I want to think about you've walked to a doctor. Yes. I mean, you've walked to a hospital. Think about the entire patient journey.
Yes, from the gate.
You meet with a watchman at the gate.
Yes.
Maybe the watchman has just had a tiff
At home.
at home or with the supervisor within the work environment.
So he's in a bad mood.
He's in a bad mood. If he is not aware that that bad mood is there, if they're not aware that they're angry, they're going to project that anger to you.
True.
Have you ever walked with someone and you say something to them, or even before you say something to them, they ask you, "We huwa unafikiriaje?" Because they're not aware. But if they are aware that they are angry or they have a certain emotion, then they'll be in a better position to manage, because awareness is key.
Absolutely.
It is very key.
Yes.
So emotional intelligence then, in terms of dealing with some of the challenges you're talking about, you have to be aware of what you're going through. Yes.
Wow.
This one is a bit off in terms of it is not in healthcare. But there's a time, a few years ago,
yes,
I attended a burial.
Okay.
You can imagine the atmosphere in a burial.
Yeah, it's
Before
heavy.
it starts, before
dark.
the service starts,
Yeah.
it's dark. People are speaking in low tones. Everybody's there. Family are seated, waiting for the presiding minister to arrive.
Okay.
And then a presiding minister arrives. And then they say, for me, nobody ever sits behind me. And makes everybody to move, because nobody should sit behind them.
Wow.
Nobody sits behind them. So she makes everyone move. Everyone moves, including the parents of the deceased.
Okay.
Definitely, she went on and conducted a very good service. But I've never forgotten how she made me feel.
Yes.
Especially because the deceased was my brother.
Oh,
and then my parents were made to move. If such a person, I guess this person had a need for,
flexing.
We all have a sense of importance. So she had a sense of self-importance. There's the issue of the ego, etc. But in the midst of all that, she also forgot
the situation
that we were in, because she would have done it very easily. Even if that never happens within that church, how on earth do you
move all those people?
Because
you move and sit somewhere else. You're one. It's easier
because you are who you are.
Wow.
So if she was aware of her need and also empathetic,
aware of the others, yes.
I'm very sure
that would not have
should have handled the situation differently. So that was not a healthcare situation, but that is just to show that even in healthcare, as healthcare workers, if we are not aware of our own emotions, ultimately it spills over. We are not empathetic.
Yes.
We don't manage ourselves properly with this all burnout. It's much easier for us to get burnout, because it has also been proven that if you're better aware, if you have a higher sense of emotional intelligence, you tend to be a bit more resilient. You are not too temperamental.
Yes, because you're managing your emotions.
You're managing your emotions appropriately. You're aware of them, then you're managing them appropriately. You're more resilient. And therefore, in terms of success, it will be much easier for you to succeed. You post better results.
Yes, you do. Because you create the rapport with your patient through your empathy.
Yes, you do.
Oh, wow. That's excellent. So now, can we see in which other areas that emotional intelligence can have an impact on the health professional? So at least we've looked at patient management, self-management. What are the other areas that you're seeing that EI can really make a difference?
I think as a professional, for professionals, if they have a better sense of emotional intelligence, then they're also better leaders.
Good. Let's get into leadership.
Individuals,
is important, yeah.
They're better leaders as individuals. And it has also been proven from research that emotional intelligence is twice more likely to help you move up in your career
than the papers,
than IQ, than intelligence quotient. IQ will get you there, but what moves you up
is the emotional
intelligence. So if you're better in the emotional intelligence, so to say, you succeed much better in your career. And I'm thinking about a few years ago, sometimes we use our real examples.
It's important.
I remember many years ago, I was going through some health issue.
Yes.
And I was seeing this doctor, this specialist.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go to that specialist with a notebook. A notebook like
Yes.
this one. And I would write down all my questions.
Mm-hmm.
And they would give me airtime.
Wow.
They would ask me next.
Do you have another question?
Do you have another question?
Oh, wow.
Half an hour, 40 minutes. And they address all my concerns. And no wonder.
That's a very patient doctor.
It was a patient doctor. But no wonder if you walk into the reception of that doctor.
Yes.
The queues.
So
it is not for nothing.
He's known for his attention.
He is known for the attention.
And how he listens to you and guides you.
The rapport with patients, the relationship with patients. And therefore is more successful.
Yes, he will be
as
more
a professional.
Yeah.
Where would such a person be? Contrast that to someone. I have also worked to another hospital somewhere not too long ago.
Yes.
With a child. There you are. Again, having fevers. I mean, some of the typical symptoms is fevers for children.
Yes, but it could be anything.
Of course, it could be anything. And of course, when fevers are high. So I go to the doctor. I tell them, this is what we're having. We had fevers of 39 point an hour ago. We've come to, I gave my Brufen. By the time we get to the hospital, fevers are still high. So a paracetamol is given on top.
Yes.
But we walk to the doctor. Most of the time, the doctor is on his screen.
Oh.
Whatever they're checking for.
You don't know.
I don't know.
Yes.
I try engaging a doctor.
He's not talking to you.
The doctor is not talking to me. He's not too responsive. It's like, this person is big about that kind of thing. No tests. Go home with an antibiotic.
How did you decide on the antibiotic without taking a test?
Thank you. So we go home.
And then you're somebody from the healthcare industry, so you know what should be done.
Yes, but I don't want to.
Yes, you don't want to aggravate the child.
But I go home.
Oh, no.
And by the next day, I'm writing a message to someone I know in that hospital, and I'm wondering
so
if the care could have been different had the doctor been more engaging.
Mm-hmm.
And for sure, by the end of that day, we're back to the hospital. It's an admission.
Oh, no. And that could have been prevented.
It could have been prevented. By tests. Or by the doctor just being a bit more attentive to me. I'm not challenging you.
No, I just want my child
my child to be fine. And I know you also want your child to be fine. So in terms of such a doctor, ultimately, I mean, how do they progress in their career?
In fact, if I was told he's on duty, I'd be like, I'll come back when another doctor is there.
In fact, for me, I was unless in an emergency, I'm not going back there. God help me, unless it's an emergency. So it has an impact, not just on the professional themselves, but also on the organization.
Yeah, the institution is affected.
And you can imagine.
And word of mouth. You'll also tell other people what happened to you.
You don't want to, but once in a while you find yourself sharing some experience. And in fact, it has been, because you're talking about AI and impact on the healthcare professional or on the healthcare institution.
Yes.
It's also been proven that just as a statistic here, that it is responsible for more than 85% of star performers in top leaders. And we could even check some of the companies we have, not even in healthcare, around here in the country.
Yes.
Which organizations succeed more? It's where leadership are engaging. They're concerned about people. In fact, for me, one of the classic examples I've had this year is this CEO who went to Unga the other day.
Yes.
I'm forgetting his name.
When
he was leaving a company.
Everybody was...
People were in tears.
They were literally lining up. Yes. Because they felt listened to, they felt acknowledged.
Cared for.
He was part of their team. He was their guy. Absolutely. But it was a beautiful story.
It was.
Yeah.
That is the power of AI.
Absolutely. And we really need to be present. I like what you're saying because it's true.
And I think I also want to quote another statistic because we check statistics. There was a report by Gallup. It reported that at one healthcare system, where the physicians in the top quartile for engagement, for physicians who had better engagement with patients, it increased outpatient volume by 17.5%.
And that's good profit margins.
I think that connects to the example I've given.
Yes.
Of the doctor I used to go to ask questions.
Because you see, after that, you see his room is full of people waiting to see him.
I've never forgotten a time I walked out of his clinic at 10 p.m.
What?
And there were women queuing.
What? When does this guy rest?
Okay.
But wow, that's amazing.
That's amazing, but it's success.
Yes, it is.
Success, definitely. I expect they also have time to
exhale.
To exhale, because it's
brilliant.
Important.
Yeah.
But that's the power of AI.
I like that. People don't think that other professions, yes, even medicine, it works. Like the doctor who talks to you, cracks jokes, knows a little about you because it's true. I have a doctor who he'll ask you, hey, so how are you? What's happening? How's your bow? Kume is just trying to find out, are you okay? Are you going through stress? But he's not asking you directly.
This is true. And in the course, and
in the course of that, you get to discover a lot more.
And when they're at it, you also loosen up. Maybe you went when you're a bit stressed. If someone is that friendly, you loosen up. We spoke about trust. You connect. So whatever you tend to, you trust in them more. You believe them more.
You're right, because like that time when I had walked in, my BP was really high. After that, hey, what's going on? It's like, well, let's try again your blood pressure. It had gone down. So he's like, you're under stress. And I was telling him, there's no stress. He's like, no.
Yes, that means they're able to see also what we're not saying.
But you see, that's nice. When somebody engages you, they get to know you. He sorted it out.
And they also, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
And also in terms of what are the environmental
Because that's when he started asking, what's happening at work? Are you getting enough exercise? Things I would not have thought about. And I was like, oh, okay.
And incidentally, from what you're saying, they're all impacting on your well-being.
Yes.
So you see the power of emotional intelligence?
Absolutely.
Even for healthcare?
Empathy is required, like 110%.
Empathy is big.
Absolutely.
Self-management is big.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you also have difficult patients.
There we go.
Someone comes and says, nimekunywa sana.
I'm tired. Or I had my friend from America sent me a message and said they no longer take it in America.
It was bad.
People, we look for stories from many places. but you're not following, But there's a reason why he has put you on this.
But as a healthcare provider, the healthcare provider can't tell you shauri yako.
Of course you can't.
Of course, what the person is saying is annoying as a patient. But you have to hold yourself together. You have to be empathetic. You have to manage your emotion. So that then you're able to respond to them appropriately without telling them basi and shauri yako.
So patients can be a challenge also in healthcare because you're trying to help them, but as we have decided, we know better than anybody else.
They can be and they know. And of course, we said these days there's Dr. Google, or you go to a nurse. And sometimes for us mothers, we are very fond of that. And then you're asking a nurse, you're looking at a nurse, you think they're a bit young.
It's happening a lot. It's happening a lot these days.
And so you're even showing them, ni kama hajui.
Okay, I don't know about showing, but sometimes I'm like, I almost want to ask, how old are you?
Some of us are kind enough to tell them that you are, are you a mother that now you want to be the midwife now that we have such attitudes, we carry such baggage.
Ow.
We are not asking them, but we portray that to them. I've worked in a hospital. We portray that to them, and we feel like they're too young, they can't manage you.
Maybe you're feeling shy and you're hiding it in that arrogance. You're thinking, how can a child examine me? Maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to understand, but yeah, wow.
But the person is trained. They know what they're doing. They're there because they've qualified for it. So how does that quote, young doctor or a young nurse manage as a patient? So that calls for a high sense of emotional intelligence in them. They have to hold themselves together. They have to have the right words to respond to you.
To reassure me, yes, when I'm wondering, how old is this one?
Yes, they can see it. They can see the doubt in you, but they need to be able to reassure you to win your confidence.
That's the word, win my confidence.
Yeah, they have to win your confidence. Utatoboa.
I hadn't thought about that, but that's wow. So yeah, patients can also they really do need to be able to know how to handle us.
Definitely.
Now, I'm just wondering, now, how do you think we should make EI part of the selection and recruitment process?
I think absolutely. And most of the time we take care of it when we're asking behavioral questions.
Okay.
For example, sometimes we don't do it, but we ought to do it. And that is why sometimes in interviews, I'm a HR professional.
Yes, you are. In fact, you're in the leadership area now. Yeah.
That is why in interviews, you have case scenarios where you portray, this is what happened. How did you handle something? I mean, or if a patient came to you, because now that we're talking healthcare.
Yes.
And this is how they were talking. How would you respond to them? That is part of what we want to say through those behavioral questions. But the other fact, having worked in healthcare for quite a number of years, the other fact that is undeniable is that most of the time for this kind of professions, whether it is nurses or doctors or pharmacists, they are taught hard skills.
That's what I was going to get to. You're taught
skills.
To be a professional, this point, that times that for the pharmacist. But how do we bring in that emotional intelligence? Because you're relating, one, to your colleagues, two, to patients. We need to remove, we also need, I hate the fact they use the word soft skills, but we need to add the emotional intelligence skills to make them more effective.
In fact, for me, I don't even refer to them as soft skills anymore.
Yeah, some people try and say that
essential skills.
They are social skills.
They are essential skills.
Essential, yes.
They are essential skills. So it is very key. And now that we are even in an age of information, where we say you Google.
Yes.
So you go to a doctor, you go to a nurse, you want to have a conversation, not to challenge them.
To understand.
But to understand.
Yes.
So it's absolutely important that some of these critical skills are incorporated in curriculum. I remember when I was in the university those days, I was in the university in 1997. When did I join? Okay, I'll give away my age.
It's okay. It's a beautiful number to be alive right now.
It is. Yeah, I was in campus. I joined campus in 1993. And I remember I used to have what we referred to as common courses, where if you are in the sciences, you do an art-based course. If you're in the arts, you do a science-based course.
Okay.
I think we should be able to incorporate some of these essential skills for these kind of professionals in the curriculum. Yes. Because it's very key. It is key for your success.
Yeah, you have to know how to interact with people.
I'm sure you've seen even statistics from the World Economic Forum, for example, and you see where the rating for EI is. And people's skills are leadership skills. What you're referring to, quotes, as soft skills or essential skills. They are among the top 10. I mean, even projecting into 2025. Even when you think about AI, artificial intelligence that has found its way also in healthcare, it doesn't remove the need for emotional intelligence.
It's needed across the board.
It's needed across board. So we need to be able to train people, both at that level when we're training them to be professionals, teach both the technical skills and the soft skills, quotes, and also within the work environment.
Keep refreshers. Keep
refreshers.
Yeah.
In the days gone by, I know right now the experience might be different, but in the days gone by where, in hospitality, if there's something they teach people, it is customer service.
Yes.
I think for healthcare,
we need to do the same
emotional intelligence is key because you're interacting with people and your success is in the treatment of these people.
Absolutely.
And people are made up of emotions.
All of us.
You are an AI practitioner.
Yes.
You know what Gordon said, 2000. The organizing principle A of the brain is threat or reward.
It's either threat or reward, flight or fright.
And what happens first?
The first thing is we panic.
Is emotions.
Yeah.
I mean, when an event happens, it triggers an emotion.
Yes.
If you perceive it as a reward,
then you're happy, you settle.
When you perceive it as a threat,
you want to fight or fly. You want to take off. It's one of the two.
Yes. So AI is key.
It is key to everything we do.
And remember what Maya said. People will forget what you said.
Yes, yeah. Maya Angelou said, that they will never forget.
They'll never forget how you made
them feel. It's very true.
Even if a patient is there, they're sick, they may not be able to talk, but they can perceive.
They feel how you handle them. That is so true.
They do.
That is very, very true.
So AI is very key.
I think you have brought out that so well on EI. We've literally covered all areas of the health sector. And I think, to those who are building curriculums, can we start teaching them even as they are in the medical schools? Because how else? I think it will even help them in their own lives to be able to know how to decompress. Oh yeah, we said one of the other future things recommendation is, you were telling me before we went live on this recording that some of the things that the challenges that healthcare workers have is sometimes the outcome is not what you wanted.
It's not what you wanted.
Sometimes the patient dies.
Unfortunately.
So how do we, I know that counselors have counselors. Mm-hmm. Do healthcare workers have people where they can share their disappointment, their pain, their loss?
I think it's important that happens. For instance, when I worked as a healthcare leader within private healthcare, part of what you'd have to organize is for debriefing sessions.
Okay.
So you also need to be able to create some safe space where they just come, not just, of course, is what we refer to as root cause analysis that you're trying to find out what went wrong.
Yes.
How can we make it better? But I think we also need to create safe spaces as leadership within the healthcare sector, the healthcare space, where people are just able to speak out.
Say, I feel bad. I
feel
sad.
bad. Because regardless of how sick a patient is, the expected outcome or what you want to see is them getting better.
Yes.
Recovering.
Yes.
Walking out of that hospital.
Yes.
Whatever time, whether it is after a week, after a day, or
you want to see them live healthy.
Yes. And that is why you're there. That is why you've trained. That is why you've invested in that.
That's why you wake up every day.
That is why you wake up every day. Not for negative outcomes. Sometimes they happen.
Yes.
So we have to be able to then support, as leadership, we need to be able to support and help our caregivers.
Thank you, Nancy Mwabili, for such amazing insights. Now, as we wind up, I have a question for you. No, it's just a question.
Okay.
Considering what you know now, if you were to speak to the younger Nancy who was joining campus, what words of wisdom would you give her?
Oh, my goodness. In which area?
Generally to life. Lessons, EI is life. Life is EI. Now that you know what you know, what would you have told the younger you?
I think even having worked in the HR profession for all these years, even today, what AI has also made me conscious of. Of course, I'm conscious of that because on the other side, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian. So I know that human beings are human beings. They deserve respect. But also understanding emotional intelligence, understanding that many times what people do is driven by emotions. Yes. Looking back at when I started practicing as a HR professional, most probably, even some of the decisions I've made about people would have been different.
Okay.
Even if the repercussion was, we spoke about punishment reward. We don't like talking about in terms of those terms and thinking about workspace. But whether it was going to be a negative outcome or not, there are situations where, looking back, 2009
yes,
and 2022,
2 different times,
I would have handled it differently if I knew what I know.
Awesome. So it's a good thing to say, that with time we get grace and we get wisdom.
We get wisdom.
And we learn that things, sometimes it doesn't have to be a reward or a punishment. You can build a bridge. You can find a halfway ground.
Definitely.
And now that we have seen that, what would you like your legacy to be as Nancy?
I talk impact and transformation. And now that we're talking about healthcare and what difference AI can make in healthcare, I think I'm at a space where I would want to create some of those partnerships, build some of those bridges. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a clinician, I'm not a nurse, but I've worked with people as a HR professional for many years and within the healthcare space. So part of the contribution I'd want to make is maybe try and create those partnerships and linkages and see how we can make healthcare, how we can make AI work